Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
Welcome back to Bengals on the Brain, episode 127, presented by First Star Logistics. I'm your host, Joe Goodberry, and it's a few days after the Bengals played last week, Thursday night, losing in dramatic fashion, as all of their big losses have been this year. Maybe just not the Eagles game, right? The other AFC tough games that they lost to, the Chiefs, the Ravens twice, just tough. Heartbreakers. The Patriots game was too, as well, I would say. I could even say the Commanders game was. Is that just the year we're going to have? And yet they're only one game out of a playoff spot, likely competing with how the rest of the field went on Sunday, likely competing with Denver, who had a field goal blocked at the end, could have ended the Chiefs' undefeated season. That didn't happen. One that works out in the Bengals' favor. The final playoff spot was probably between the Colts, who got absolutely destroyed by the Bills, but have probably the easiest schedule remaining, and the Bengals, who can't get out of their own way, can't seem to make the right moves to propel themselves just a small bit forward at the trade deadline, trading for a running back, because we haven't talked about that. Khalil Herbert, who I like, but got one opportunity and fumbled the snap, although that was charged to Joe Burrow, which was interesting. Maybe he pulled it out, just a lack of reps between the two of them. Today, the Bengals, well, on Monday, so as you're watching this on Tuesday, on Monday, and this is something that if you're a subscriber to me on Twitter, on X, at Joe Goodberry, you knew this already, but the Bengals brought in a couple of veterans for workouts. So when the trade deadline happened, they couldn't get deals with players and positions they wanted to. It's the Bengals. Again, two things. We're going to dispel a couple myths today. Number one, Bengals don't try. Not true. They at least try. The truth is they can never come to an agreement because they're hard to deal with and negotiate with, and they've got to win every trade or signing. So that moves us to the signing. So once the trade deadline passed, they scheduled visits with some veterans. One guy that was cut on the trade deadline day, and that was on Monday. They had their visits with them, and as of now, they have signed one player of the four that were rumored and reported to be brought in. The two biggest ones, Xavier Howard, the corner you remember from the Dolphins. And he was there under Lou Anarumo. Good player, I think 29 career interceptions. Had an injury, had some character flags at the very end there, and that's likely why he's still not signed anywhere. He posted on Instagram, I believe it was, him working out and showing that he's ready to sign with a team and help a team. That deal did not come to fruition. The Bengals offered him a contract. I'm assuming it was the vet minimum deal. That's what these guys get at this point in the season. And he turned it down, probably waiting for maybe a more desperate team or a better opportunity. Maybe he wasn't going to start. I don't think he would. He'd be there for depth, veteran depth. And maybe it's just not worth his re-injury risk, right? Everyone has to evaluate that themselves. And is it worth it to show up for, $600,000 and potentially blow your knee out or whatever it is? So everyone's got to make that decision. So that deal did not come. Maybe it'll happen later. Usually they don't, right? When you bring guys in for workouts, you offer them a contract, take it or leave it. That's how it goes. The next one was Leonard Fournette at running back. The Bengals still looking for a little bit of size, maybe a little bit of power at the running back position. Fournette is a guy who's bounced around the last few years. You remember he was still effective with the Bucs. He was on the Bills last year, pretty much inactive the entire season. So you could see the career cliff had approached, and his ability was tumbling downhill pretty quickly. That's probably why they did not sign Leonard Fournette. Just probably didn't look like a player that could help you much. So they did sign a running back, and this is Gary Brightwell, the former 6th round pick. He's played for the Browns and the Giants. Has not done much on offense in his career, mostly a special teamer, over 640 career special team snaps. You're going to ask next, how is he as a blocker? 3 pass blocking snaps in his career. We just don't know. Big guy, though, 6'1", 218. has had some injuries, was cleared to play and good to go. So they signed him to the practice squad, not to the active roster. So as of now, the running backs will still remain Chase Brown, Travion Williams, Khalil Herbert, and Kendall Milton, who has the only guy with size on the roster. I mean, Herbert's he's not small, but neither is Chase Brown. Chase Brown isn't small either. But I think they wanted a power guy to bring into this room. And that makes sense to bring in Brightwell. The other one we heard was Albert O, and I've never fully learned how to say his last name, so I'm not even going to try with you. But a former Bronco. I think the Eagles just cut him at the trade deadline, not needing him anymore. He's got some speed, never has developed into anything more than an athletic robot. But the Bengals lost some of that with Eric All, and having that speed to make these blocks is key to what Eric All was doing. It's hard to just put Drew Sample into that role because then you don't have somebody on the line, because a lot of the 12 personnel we were seeing with Eric All was Drew Sample on the line and then having Eric All almost as an H-back fullback. If you put Sample in that H-back fullback role, there's no one on the line to block. That's why they called up Cam Grandy, who did have a nice block on the Chase Brown touchdown at the Y spot on the line of scrimmage. But you can't activate that guy every week. You have to decide if he's going to be on the active roster. So maybe you keep Sample there and you sign like an Albert O that can get to these blocks like Eric All could. We'll have to find out if anything happens there at all. So the roster's pretty set. Oh, we should mention. They did put in a claim for Yannick Ngakoue, who was cut by the Ravens, I think the day before the Thursday night game. The Patriots were awarded Ngakoue. The Bengals were the only other team to put a claim in. Patriots, obviously worst record, got him before the Bengals did, were awarded him. And he's really only played right defensive end, same side as Trey Hendrickson. So I don't know exactly how that would have worked. Maybe it would have just been for like 10 snaps a game to give Trey a breather. Or they would try to flip Yannick Ngakoue to the other side, maybe. But either way, that didn't happen, and he's with the Patriots now. So maybe a sign that they will still kick the tires on some defensive ends and pass rushers and see what they've got there. And with that, the roster is set. What does this team look like? What's the challenge ahead of them? I mentioned earlier in the season, I mentioned earlier in the episode, it's been a long episode, it feels like a season already, that they're still one game back and only one game back of the playoffs. So they're not dead. And when you think about the teams that they're going to be competing with, the Colts, the Broncos, and yeah, the Chargers, right? Maybe the Steelers or Ravens, whoever does not win the division. I assume those teams are pretty much locked for the playoffs now. So that leaves 2 playoff spots between the Chargers, who the Bengals play this Sunday night. So, hey, you got a chance there. Colts, they don't play the Colts. Colts seem to be floundering a little bit. And the Broncos, who the Bengals do play. So clearly, who are the 2 biggest games left on their schedule? Broncos, Chargers. And that's one this week, Sunday Night Football. It's a big game. And I want to go through a playoff simulator and show you what it really looks like. Because I know people are really down on their chances. And I think there's multiple things, multiple parts going on there. Number one, they're 4-6. It sucks, right? Like I feel that as well. The organization has made bad moves, bad decisions. The coaching staff and play calling and all these things have put them in a hole. But they're not out of it yet because of the rest of the AFC is that poor. And that's why I painted that picture to start with. And so do you believe they're going to even, if they get into the playoffs, will they make a run? I mean, you got Burrow, so maybe. You are getting Orlando Brown Jr. back. You are getting T. Higgins back. The team could get better. I've mentioned the young defensive players that could get better. So this isn't me trying to sell you hope. The reality of the situation is the schedule is not tough for them. They play the teams ahead of them in the wild card race. And if they win them, they're going to be right there. If they beat the Chargers, they're right there. If they then beat the Broncos a few weeks after, they're right there. And beating those 2 teams probably gives them a playoff spot. And so we're going to go through a simulator, and I'm going to show you what I've seen and go through the layout and talk you through it. And this is something I use to give me a gauge once we get to the second half of the season of what are the chances. And I did this last year even. Remember, they were 5-5. Burrow gets hurt. Jake Browning takes over. They lose a couple games, and they beat the Jags. And it was like, oh, actually, if they win a couple games here and they finish 9-8, which might be what they finished this year, 9-8 this year, probably gets them a playoff spot. At least I think the simulations say 50-50. So let's check that out. Okay, this is the New York Times playoff predictor, playoff picture machine. Used a lot of data that I like to do. So we're going to do a little bit of election day breakdown of numbers and number crunching and how this affects this. First, we're going to start at the top. Bills, 99% chance working to make the playoffs to win the division. Basically, the Bills have pretty much locked up. We can call it now. The Bills, AFC East. The Ravens, 99% chance to make the playoffs. And that's the Steelers here with a 93% chance. That's why I said that takes 4 playoff spots off the table right away. The 4 division winners, the 5th spot being now the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that leaves 2 spots no matter what happens. I mean, 93 isn't concrete lock like 99 is, but 93 is pretty strong. Steelers at this point would have to melt down in epic fashion, and I'm here for it. So I hope so. But odds to win their division only at 31%. So more than likely they are the wild card team. And this may be because they expect the Steelers to lose to Baltimore. I believe that's this week's game as well. And we'll look at the Bengals real quick. 36%. It was 30% coming into this weekend. So even with the loss, the Bengals' odds to make it went up due to, I want to say, the Colts losing and the Broncos losing. So the Colts are now at 24% with the Texans, despite their loss. Great chance that they're winning that division. And then we go down to the West, Chiefs with the 99 and 98%. They just have to contend with the Chargers, who are pretty much getting close to that 90 percentile mark where you can almost call them a playoff team at 6-3. Even if they lose to the Bengals this week, 6-4, they're probably still a strong team to make the playoffs. The Broncos, though. So of the competing teams against the Bengals, 43% for the Broncos, 24% for the Colts, 36% for the Bengals. That's really it. I mean, any other team that could get in this, the Dolphins with 11% chance up here, maybe. Jets with 7%, despite having a super easy rest of the season schedule. I think we can eliminate them and say it's a 3-team race for that final playoff spot between the Bengals, between the Colts, and between the Broncos. And let's be honest, guys, can I talk to you for a second? Does that scare you? Does the Colts and Broncos scare you? Broncos may be the best overall team. But in a quarterback shootout, in a quarterback game, are we taking the Bengals in that? We said this a lot this year and it hasn't happened. But yeah, I think we are. I think we're going to go to the simulator now, and I'll show you what goes from here. So when we click on the Bengals, all right, we get even more data here. And this is why I really like this machine. We'll use ESPN later. It allows you to do a little bit different, a little bit more. But the wild card is 36% chance. If you were, say, to host wild card, which means win the division, they have a 1% chance to win the division. So we can call it now. The Bengals are not winning the swing of the AFC North division. That is the swing division because it never goes more than 2 winners in a row, although the Ravens are threatening with that again. Now, if you look on the left side here, we'll be able to pick the Bengals games for the rest of the season. So let's start with, if the Bengals are going to get to the playoffs, what do they need to do? Well, it starts this week. Let's beat the Chargers, right? Instantly beating the Chargers brings their odds to 55% chance of making the playoffs. A big swing from 36 to 55, a 20% swing. If they lose to the Chargers, though, goes from 36 to 23, dropping you down there pretty well. So let's start with a win and let's go from there. And these numbers will change each time. You'll see now it's 53%. Why? I thought it said 55. They're simulating thousands of scenarios every time you click the button. Let's say they then roll a little bit and beat the Steelers the following week. Brings you up to a 66% chance. How about the Cowboys game? Do we like that one? We like the Bengals over the Cowboys without Dak Prescott. They look terrible. 76% chance. This is when the run is starting. How about the Titans right after that? We definitely like the Titans, the Bengals versus the Titans, right? We're now up to an 86% chance, and our chances of winning the division up to 4% now. It's not much. Bengals Browns. Should we flip a coin, or do we still feel confident the Bengals can come away with that game? 90% chance. Oh no, let's lose to the Broncos and see what it does just to see. 72% chance. And then it would come down to the end, basically. You beat the Steelers in the last game, and you've got a 97% chance to make the playoffs. You lose to the Steelers in that final game. 55% chance. Let's say they don't run it. Let's say it's the Steelers earlier and the Bengals get the end. Oh, we're nearing 50% chance, 51. So it's really going to come down to the Bengals, the Colts, the Broncos at the end there to see, what would happen. So let's not click these. Let's unclick all of these. And we're not done yet here. We're going to go a few more minutes on the simulator because I'll show you why I enjoy this the most. Oh, we went from 36 to 39. I'll take the 3% increase in the simulations. Now, we're going to go week by week here. If you can see this right here, week 10. And we got Dolphins, Rams. Let's say the Rams win this one and increases the Bengals odds just slightly. Now, week 11. We're going to go through each one of these real quick. Commanders, Eagles. Let's just say Commanders. Packers, Bears. I'm going Packers. Lions, Jags, Lions. Vikings, Titans. We're going Vikings. Raiders, Dolphins. Ooh, flip a coin. I like Dolphins there. Rams, Patriots. Let's go Rams. Browns, Saints. I'm going Saints. Ravens, Steelers. I think Ravens take care of that. Falcons, Broncos. Man, pivotal game. This next coming week, if you're watching other teams, Bengals are on Sunday night. Broncos, Falcons. We could use a big one there. Let's go Falcons. Let's put it in the Bengals' favor. Seahawks, 49ers. Let's go 49ers. They got Christian McCaffrey back. Bills, Chiefs. I like the Bills. I think the Bills are playing a little bit better than the Chiefs are right now. Maybe the Chiefs figure out a way to win at the end. That's how they've done it all year against the Ravens, Bengals, Broncos. Maybe they will against the Bills as well. But just off these games, we're up to 42% chance of making it. I'm going to skip the Bengals Chargers for now. And let's say Colts Jets. Another big game. We're talking about the biggest games this week. Falcons Broncos. The other one, Colts Jets. Let's let it go in our favor. Say Jets win that and drop the Colts down. Texans beat the Cowboys because Cowboys are down and out. That means we got a big swing here. We're at 42%. We can end up at 29 or 57, pretty much a 30-point swing now between the Bengals and Chargers. Chargers are very good. You lose that game, dropping you down. You win that game, man, 59, 60% chance if it all goes your way. What if it doesn't? What if the Broncos win and the Colts win? Instead of 59% chance, it gives you 54. So it's not a huge hit. Those other teams don't hit. But if they do, if we can go in this direction, we'll keep it going a couple more weeks to give you an idea. I'm going to go a little bit faster this time. Steelers, Browns. Let's go Steelers. Bears, Vikings. Let's go Bears. Lions, Colts. Lions, Colts. Big game again. Don't we think the Lions will beat the Colts? We do. Patriots, Dolphins. Not sure. I think the Dolphins can make a little mini run there, but their schedule is not too bad. Bucks, Giants. We like the Bucks. Cowboys, Commanders. Like the Commanders. Chiefs, Panthers. We like the Chiefs. Titans, Texans. Broncos, Raiders. I like the Broncos here. I think the Broncos are a better team. It's in Oakland. It is, or it's in Vegas. Division game, but we're going to go with Broncos. Packers, 49ers. I went 49ers last week. Let's go Packers this week. Cardinals, Seahawks. I do like the way both teams. It's a coin flip game. Let's go Seahawks. Eagles, Rams. I'm going to go Eagles. Chargers, Ravens. Again, we're competing directly with the Chargers. The Ravens, hey, we may need the Ravens to handle business here. I know we don't like rooting for the Ravens, but if they do, the Bengals are still in the driver's seat for a playoff spot at 5 and 6. So week 13 here now. Bears, Lions. Let's go Lions. Giants, Cowboys. Giants. Maybe flip a coin. Cowboys. Let's say they figure it out by then. Trey Lance gets his first victory. Dolphins, Packers. Now we can handle the Dolphins and squash them down from having to run too much. Chiefs, take care of it. Chargers, Falcons. Again, I think this could be a coin flip game. There's not a huge difference between them. I think the Chargers will win. It's in Atlanta, though. Anything can happen. The Chargers love to. What do the Chargers do? Maybe John Harbaugh has fixed it out. Jim Harbaugh has fixed it out for the Chargers because they collapse in epic fashion at the end of the year. So maybe they do. Maybe they don't. Bengals win theirs over the Steelers. Even if they lose, not too bad. They're still within the running. They're still within a coin flip scenario. Let's go Cardinals over Vikings. Colts, Patriots. Can the Patriots do enough by then to beat the Colts? That's another game that could give us a 5-point swing or so. Let's say the Colts still stay alive in this. Jets, Seahawks. Let's take Seahawks. Kill the Jets' hopes at that point. Bengals are back at 6 and 6 after winning 2 in a row. Titans, Commanders. We're going Commanders. Texans over Jags. We're going Rams over Saints. We're going Bucks over Panthers. Eagles, Ravens. Let's go Eagles. Let's drop the Ravens. We can't have them winning too many times. 49ers, Bills. Let's go 49ers. Browns, Broncos. Man, we may need the Browns to beat the Broncos here. We may need the Browns to figure it out by then. Let's say they don't. Let's say the Broncos keep rolling and keep it moving. Week 14. Try and move it up and go quicker here. Packers, Jags over Titans, Dolphins, Jets. Say Dolphins. Falcons, Vikings, Saints, Giants. Let's go Giants here to switch it up. Panthers, Eagles, Browns, Steelers. Big. That could be a big swing there. I feel like the Steelers, though. Raiders, Bucks. Let's go Bucks. Seahawks, Cardinals. Where'd we go last time? I don't remember. We're going Cardinals this time. Bills, Rams. Let's go Bills. Bears, Niners, Chargers, Chiefs. Hey, we got the Chiefs a chance to really put a dagger in the Chargers a bit there. And the Bengals, Cowboys. Bengals should win that one. That should be heavily favored towards them. In the next 3 weeks, we're 7-8. Now, if I scroll up and say, all right, say they drop one of these. Let's say it's the Chargers game from this past week here. Where are we? Oh, I'm one too high, aren't I? Week 12, week 11. That's where we're at. So even if they lose one of these, they're still at about 44% chance. Still a little bit higher than they are right now. And we want to look for that Steelers-Bengals game as well. Oh, the Bengals are on a bye week after that. That's right. Let's say the Steelers win that instead of the Bengals. The Bengals would be at 48. So 46, 49. That's very similar. But if they win these three, then the next 3 weeks and get to 7-6, they are in great shape. And it doesn't look too crazy because, look, we got the Titans right after that. So you beat the Titans, and let's say you do lose to the Chargers this weekend. I don't want to climb out of that hole. I don't think anybody does. Your chances are still 80%. By losing to that's the Ravens Chargers. I'm sorry. I'm always 1 week off on that. Let's do Chargers there. You're still at 55% chance if you lose to that Chargers game. If you beat the Chargers and you handle the Steelers, or the Steelers, pull that game out in the following week, because that'll be big. Bengals are in. They got to win in all these games here. And you lose to the Steelers, you're still at 62% chance. So give me an idea there of the numbers. If they run it the next few weeks and get to 8-6 by beating the Titans and the Cowboys and the Steelers and Chargers, they're at 85%. They're in great shape to win this. Let's finish this up then. Going 49ers, going Chiefs, going Commanders, going Ravens over Giants. We'll take coin flip here, Panthers over Cowboys. Jets, Jags. Let's go Jags. We haven't given them a win in a while. Texans, Dolphins. Let's go Texans, killing the Dolphins' hopes. Colts, Broncos. Again, you're competing with these two teams. Not much of a difference. 86% to 84%. Let's say Broncos. Bills, Lions. Let's go Lions. Steelers, Eagles. Let's go Eagles. Patriots, Cardinals, right? Bucks, Chargers. Hey, let's go Bucks. Knock the Chargers down. Packers, Seahawks. Let's go Seahawks. Bears, Vikings. Let's go Bears, actually. Falcons, Raiders. Let's go Falcons. Hey, we aren't even there yet. We're 8-6, 91% chance to make the playoffs with 2 weeks left to go. I'm not going to go any further than that. This is what I wanted to exercise and show you. And this has them winning pretty much all the next 4 weeks, but the schedule isn't crazy. And let's remember, Bengals Browns is right after that. If this is a playoff team, you win these games. And then if the Broncos can handle the Chargers there, Bengals are in by week 16. And yes, it starts by winning. You have to start winning now. I get it. Starts now. And I know what you're saying, Joe. Of course, if they run the table, they'll be in the playoffs. Yes, that's true. But I'm saying go do the simulations yourself. And even if you get to 9-8, they've got a 50-50 shot. If they get to 10 wins, based on if they beat the right teams, Chargers, Broncos, or just the Broncos, and Chargers get a playoff spot, 10 wins gets them in automatically. And it's 50-50 at 9-8, which probably means do the Colts, do they get to 9 wins? Do the Broncos get to 9 wins? And then that game comes down to coin flips. I even did a scenario where the Bengals lose to the Chargers and the Broncos and still made the playoffs at the very end, based on them just losing too many games. The Broncos ending up 8-9, I think, at that point. So You're not dead yet. You're not out of it yet. And that's why I'd like the Bengals to make some moves and try and get these veterans in here. Listen, that's the thing. I started this with they didn't get these deals done. But truthfully, these are deals that should have been done in August. And I know if a guy was hurt, that's different, right? You got to wait till they're cleared. But they leave so many depth positions and practice squad positions on their roster in an unserious manner. Sign these veterans in August, in September. Put them on your practice squad. That's what the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills do. You want to be like them? They all made trades for legit people that'll play. Did you see the Steelers throwing to Mike Williams for their game-winning touchdown? But these teams make trades. They bring in veterans and put them on the practice squad. They pay veteran depth. The Bengals don't like paying their depth. This is something we're going to have to talk about much more. I think I did last year when I did a free agency preview. But even the third defensive tackle, they're not paying them. The third defensive end, they're not paying them. The most they did this year was Akeem Davis-Gaither. The third linebacker, the fourth corner, they ain't paying him. The third safety, they're not paying him. The fourth receiver, Trenton Irwin, give him $1 million. Okay. Drew Sample, I guess. I mean, this doesn't sound like a great use of money, but it's why they didn't really have a good backup offensive lineman. And not that every team does, but their swing guy is always some Cody Ford, can't get a job anywhere else. They don't pay running back 3. They decided not to pay running back 1, but they decided not to pay running back 3 and 4. Guess Jake Browning's getting the backup money. How does that help your team now? My point is, getting the Xavier Howards, the Leonard Fournettes, the Gary Brightwells, you got to do this stuff. How do you not end up with just pushing this over the finish line with Xavier Howard? Comes in as a backup, plays behind DJ Turner, Cam Taylor-Britt. If you lose one more guy and you got to roll out Josh Newton or DJ Ivey, you're in trouble. You think this defense is in trouble now? Have one more injury at corner. I get why there's hope at defensive end with Miles Murphy, maybe Joseph Osai. I get why there's some hope at defensive tackle with McKinley Jackson and Chris Jenkins. But you need a veteran in there. And that should have been done in the offseason. And if they want to know one small tweak they could do to really elevate their offseason and their plan, sign veterans, the cheap veterans for backups. $2 million, $3 million, $4 million. If a guy's going to play 400 plus snaps as the third defensive tackle, that's valuable. Sign them. Calais Campbell. Stop messing around with that. You can do so much for the strength of the roster, elevating, rising, lifting the floor. They got an issue right now with the ceiling and the floor of their roster. And we'll talk about that when we get the roster building. This is more of the season's not over yet. Sort of. And it's only because, and I know they haven't beaten a good team. So how do we even do simulations? Do a simulation. Send me a simulation where they don't beat any good teams and let's see what their playoff odds are. Bet it's not great at the end of the year. But they got to start doing it, of course. It's hard not to have one eye on the offseason and how we don't end up back here. And we'll get there. There'll be plenty of time for that. We look for content in the offseason. Speaking of reasons to watch for, because there's still playoff hopes, the Jake and Joe postgame show this Sunday night, presented by First Star Logistics. First Star's got us giving away. Probably, I think this is the best one so far yet. Because it's a helmet. Wrong side, Joe. Everything's reversed in the camera. I'm like a weatherman. A Bengals helmet signed by Joe Burrow. 2 of them. One on Twitter. So make sure you get on there. First Star log. Joe Goodberry. You'll see the tweet. We'll make sure it's making its round Sunday before so that you can get into it. And then you get into the post-game show. We'll give you a keyword. You put it in the comments. And you got a chance to win one. It's simple. We have a good time. I think the show is good. It's not just the giveaways. I think the show is good. I enjoy working with Jake. I enjoy the presentation and the support that First Star gives us. But they also give away awesome stuff. I'm in. If I wasn't already in, I'm just saying. You should join us too. Until next time, this has been Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. I'm Joe Goodberry. Who dey?
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.